now this whole what men are calling an administration is to do nothing. Its sole purpose is to keep the prophecy that the prophets gave, that the rightful president would be in office again. And this whole thing is to keep that from happening.
Yeah, this is Robin Bullock. He prophesied that Donald Trump would be president in 2020. Oops. Obviously, that fell flat in embarrassing ways, but guess what? He just cannot let this go. He keeps going on about it. And what's even more entertaining than that is he has some absolutely bizarre, unhinged ideas about, like, the Constitution, the founding of the country. He's just repeating complete nonsense over and over again from a guy named David Barton, primarily. This dude came up with all kinds of propagandistic framing for the founders and the starting of the country, basically. Absolutely crazy stuff. So I wanted to take a look at some of it. This one is from June 2021. I just want to give you an idea of who he is. Then we're going to talk about some of the crazier ideas that he came up with just the other day. I want to establish some of his ideas about Donald Trump with this clip. So listen to what he has to say about Trump and Biden and how he views them.
But I remember he leaned into the mic and told President Trump, "We're coming for you."
He's talking about Biden, obviously.
And he growled out this demonic sound. I can't make the sound, but it was this demonic voice. I've heard him make it again recently.
So he thinks Biden is a demon? ?
And he growled this out. When he did, I went back and I took a picture. I think it was at that moment. It was one of the moments I took a picture with my phone right on television. Yes. Okay, it's up there. Now look at the eyes. If you'll look at the eyes, you'll notice there's serpent's pupils.
Right, serpent's pupils. Okay. Well, here's the thing. First of all, this guy blatantly, flat out, bald-faced lies to people regularly. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you an example of it in a minute. So first of all, don't trust it for that reason alone, because he just blatantly lies about things. Second, if this were real, let's just grant him the benefit of the doubt and assume he's not lying about this one. If this were a real picture that he snapped on his phone, there are reasons for why something like this could happen. You can zoom in and take a look at the pixelation here. Let me try to blow it up a little bit so you guys can see it better. You can see the pixelation around the eye. The reason that you see like a lot of this stuff, the kind of fuzz, or what's the term I'm looking for here? Distortion or noise, that's probably the word I was looking for, is because a TV broadcast really is nothing more than just a series of like 30 images per second that they're flipping up for you to see, or 60 images per second or whatever, depending on the frame rate, right? So modern TVs will do this thing where if it's like 30 FPS, for example, they'll jump from one picture to the next, but to make it smoother, the TV will create kind of a blended transition image in between, kind of like a cross dissolve, where it kind of fades into the next image, and you get weird, distorted results like this. Another thing TVs do is when you're receiving a signal, it's all digital now. I don't even know what he was using. Like, was he watching TV from a cable box, or was he watching this on YouTube? I have no idea. When you download an image, you're downloading hundreds and hundreds of gigs worth of footage, right? When you're downloading a video, it's hundreds of gigs worth of footage. But to transfer that high amount of data from one system to the next, say from YouTube's headquarters to your computer, what they'll do is they'll take the original video and they'll compress it. So say you're writing a love letter to like a family member, and you say the words, "I love you," like 63 times, and it's like 2 pages long. So you write a little answer key and you say, every time you see the number 3, replace that with the phrase, "I love you." And you remove all mentions of the words "I love you" and replace it with 3s all the way through the entire letter that you wrote. And now it's down to a paragraph. It's only a paragraph. So now you can mail that letter in a single envelope. It's a single piece of paper with one stamp and the answer key. Send it on to them, and they can unpack it. They can kind of expand it and get the entire letter that you intended for them to get. That's the idea behind compression. So You're taking hundreds of gigs worth of data in this video, and you're compressing it down into a little tiny space, sending it on to the requesting computer, like Robin Bullock's computer. He's receiving it, he's taking that enter key, and he's filling in all the empty spaces. Now, when you do that, it's not perfect. Even with our modern systems, it's not a perfect result. You still get things like compression artifacts. You get like noise like this. You get really, really weird results sometimes. Because what happens if the number 3 belonged there and it was actually supposed to be intended to be the number 3 and not the phrase, I love you? You get these weird little results, weird little noise every now and then. But for the most part, it works really, really well. That could be a simple, basic explanation for this. But instead of taking any of these explanations into account, Robin Bullock goes with, it's a demon. Joe Biden is a demon. That's the one he chose to go with. Genius. Yeah, that's the most likely one, right?
Notice they're serpents' pupils. They're slotted pupils. Now, other times they're not like that. But at times, it shows a slotted serpent's eye. And people say, oh, that was Photoshop. No, it wasn't either. I took the picture.
I bet. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't believe the guy. I just don't. And even if I did, there are plenty of good explanations for this. But instead, he's going to go with the idea that Biden is a literal demon, or literally demon-possessed, one or the other, and that Donald Trump is a messiah. He's a prophet. We just check this one out. This is late June 2021. It should give you an idea of how he views Donald Trump in relation to Biden.
And the Lord told me, he said, now the fight has left the heavens, and it's in the earth. Now we are in a full-on spiritual war. On the 6th, it was still in the heavens.
That's January 6th. He says, on January 6th, the battle exited heaven and entered the physical realm.
Heavens, but after that day, it dropped into the earth. There's not an administration in the White House or in the Capitol. When the war left the heavens and came to the ground, this so-called administration is actually a regime whose sole purpose is to stop a prophecy from coming to pass. That's what it is. People say, well, you can't see that this man is the president now. No, this man is not the president. He's sitting in the seat, but that's not who he is. And now this whole, what men are calling an administration, is to do nothing. Its sole purpose is to keep the prophecy that the prophets gave, that the rightful president would be in office again.
That's absolutely unhinged from reality. This guy is saying, he's one of those prophets, by the by, that he mentioned a minute ago. He is saying he prophesied Donald Trump would be the president in 2020 as one of God's chosen people, a messiah, if you will. He prophesied that. He claims God gave him that message to disseminate to the rest of the world. And Biden's whole goal in life was to prevent God's will from being done, to prevent Robin Bullock from being correct about this prophecy. Am I the only one that finds that completely unhinged and backwards? Is God really so weak that he is incapable of carrying out his own plan? Why are we even talking about the possibility that maybe God isn't powerful enough to do this? If God wants it done, it gets done, right? How is it that this guy has completely bamboozled everybody to the degree that they actually believe that God is so weak that he is incapable of accomplishing his own goals and plans? This is absolutely bizarre stuff. He comes out here on January 3rd, 2023, and gives a brand new sermon. I wanted to listen to a couple of clips from it because it is absolutely unhinged. You think that stuff was unhinged? This one is just blatant lying through almost all of it. He took the opportunity to really go after atheists. Dude seems to have like a serious problem with secularists or non-believers in general. Listen to this. January 3rd, 2023.
And something's happening right now inside rogue politicians that you have got to D.C. and lost your ever-loving mind. You've lost your freaking mind in D.C. and you've got up there and you let some kind of demon crawl up your spine and take hold of the back of your neck and jerk you around until you're talking like a fool. But you wasn't raised a fool. You were raised in the household of the blood. You were raised on the blood of Jesus. You knew the scriptures. And
dude, what is this weird obsession that all of these people have with Jesus and his blood and getting it all over everything and bathing in it? Like, why? Why do they talk about this all the time? Jehovah's Witnesses did not talk about it. I honestly think this is weird and creepy. That's just me, I guess.
you knew the scriptures, and you know they're still true today, because anybody with any sense knows right now that you didn't evolve from some blob out of the sea that came from some particle that exploded in the atmosphere.
Oh, shot across the bow for anybody who accepts science. Uh-oh. Okay, hang on. Let's step back. Listen to this again.
Now that you didn't evolve from some blob out of the sea that came from some particle that exploded in the atmosphere.
He's making fun of, like, abiogenesis, which is actually what this is. He likes to call it evolution. It's not. He's making fun of abiogenesis as being ridiculous, when this crazy, ridiculous fairy tale that he repeats to everybody and their sister is supposedly not ridiculous, I guess. The idea that, like, never, I'm not even going to go down the path. Just keep listening to what he says here.
Because if you're going to say that, then you've got to ask yourself, where did the sea come from? Where did the blob in the sea come from? Where did the sea come from? Where did the particle come from? Where did the explosion come from?
Now, I don't need to ask myself any of that. I know what my answer to those questions are, and the answer is, I don't know. The answer can be, I don't know. That's okay. When did we develop this compulsion where we must answer these questions? If they're unanswered, we have to fill in a gap and give a fake answer. When did that become the solution to this problem? People should be okay with saying, I don't know. Now, science does have an answer for some of this stuff, and that's great. But even if I didn't know the answers, it doesn't mean your answer is correct. The one you're coming up with right off the top of your head is correct. I mean, just the most basic level logic is required here. That's all we need. Like Logic 101. I don't know. Does that mean I come up with a fake answer? Or does it mean I don't know? What do those words mean?
Come from? Where did the explosion come from? Where did anything come from? You're going to run out of options.
Great, fine. I run out of options then. That doesn't mean I fill one in.
And you'll be right back to the Sunday school Jesus the whole time.
You shouldn't be. Your answer should still be, I don't know. I mean, that one is just the tip of the iceberg, dude. Some of the stuff this guy says is just blatant bald-faced lying. So that was a failure of logic, like a ridiculous failure in logic. But listen to some of the lies the guy told. Check this out. This is just from a couple minutes later.
Everything written in our Declaration of Independence, every right given, 27 different things. And get this, all of them were preached in the pulpit before 1763.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Let's just step back and listen to that one more time, because something is not quite adding up here.
Everything written in our Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence. You mean the document signed by a bunch of people that basically told King George to go heck himself in not so many words, or in a few more words than that, I guess. Yeah, in not so many words. That's the document we're referring to right now? The Declaration of Independence? The one that lists grievances about no taxation without representation and things like that, right? Okay.
In our Declaration of Independence, every right given.
Okay, the Declaration of Independence didn't give us any rights. It was the document we used to tell King George to heck himself. 27
different things.
No.
And get this, all of them were preached in the pulpit before 1763.
No, they weren't. I know what he meant was the Constitution, so I'm going to argue from that position. But I honestly don't think the guy fully understands the difference between a lot of these founding documents. Does he know what the Federalist Papers were? Does he know what value they had to the early republic? Does he know anything about the early days of the United States and the U.S. government? Does he know anything about it? I honestly doubt that he does. But okay, let's assume that he misspoke there, even though I don't think that's a justified assumption. Let's assume he meant the Constitution. He did say 27 rights granted, right? Herein lies your problem, Robin. The First Amendment contradicts the First Commandment. Here's the First Amendment. I've got it on tap right here. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now let's look at the First Commandment. This is the First Commandment from the Bible. Exodus 20, verse 3. You shall have no other gods before me. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That means you are free to be Muslim or Buddhist or Sikh or Hindu or literally anything you want. That's what the First Amendment says. The First Commandment says, you shall have no other gods before me. First Amendment, you can be anything you want. First Commandment, you must be a Christian. You see the hang-up here, right? People were not preaching the amendments in the Constitution. They were not preaching the Bill of Rights leading up to the creation of the Constitution. It's completely made up. He has no idea what he's talking about. None.
All of them were preached in the pulpit before 1763.
The Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776, and I believe the Revolutionary War ended in 1883, and the Constitution was ratified in 1787, I think. So he's saying before 1763. I don't know what significance that number has to like the early country, but okay. Was that this is like 20 years before the war even ended, 15 years before it started. But all right.
All of them. So the Declaration of Independence was just a compilation of sermons that had been preached by all these ministers.
Did you hear that? The Declaration of Independence. Again, is this a mistake? Or is he just that ignorant about the founding of the country? Does he really not understand any of this stuff? I thought that he mistakenly said the Declaration of Independence when he meant the Constitution. Am I giving this guy too much credit? I think I might be.
So the Declaration of Independence was just a compilation of sermons that had been preached by all these ministers all those years.
No.
And it was written down. Because it came from God and your freedom came from God.
What gave him the idea that God is in favor of freedom? He's very obviously not at all.
I don't care if you live in Australia. I don't care if you live in China. I don't care. There are certain rights given to you by heaven that government did not grant you. You were given your rights from the Almighty, the breath of God breathing into Adam's nostrils, the breath of lives. The Hebrew says lives. That includes all lives. Were given this great freedom before God.
We talking even gay lives? Even straight lives, even women's lives, even atheists' lives, everybody's lives we talking? They have freedom, and you should have respect for them as human beings? Are we on the same page with that? Of course not. You think the guy has any respect for the LGBT community? No, never did. He's a QAnoner. He's a Trumpist extremist. He believes Trump is a messiah. He has no respect for the LGBT community, for secular humanists or atheists or anybody, except for white Christian males. Those are the only people this guy has ever shown me that he's cared about. So he can say this until he's blue in the face, but we have no reason to believe him.
And it's so that you could live out your life and your posterity's lives.
Serving Jesus, right?
In a wonderful time. And not have the opinions of a few oppress the masses.
You know, I didn't have to include that little bit there at the end, but I wanted to anyway. What a ridiculous thing for somebody to say in this position, right?
And not have the opinions of a few oppress the masses.
Not have the opinions of the few oppress the masses. So I guess what he's saying is Christians are the vast majority of people in the country, right? And the minority group, which is, I guess, secular humanists, the LGBT community, the black community, are oppressing poor, innocent Christians who just want to serve God and sit in their little corner and control the United States government. And that's all they're asking for. Just completely absurd. And not for nothing, but look at the patch on the side of his arm there. It's a needle with like an X through it or whatever, or a cross through it. He's an anti-vaxxer, in case you didn't know. Absolutely absurd from top to bottom. Literally everything about this guy's ridiculous. He took the opportunity to repeat a whole bunch of historical nonsense from a guy named David Barton. Listen to what he had to say in this next part.
Really, it wasn't over yet, but yet it was over at Yorktown.
He was talking about like the early history of the U.S., the battles in the Revolutionary War and stuff.
Then about a month after that, it was suddenly put into law, and Congress endorsed printing the first American Bible, the Aitken Bible. I don't have an original one, but I've got a copy of one.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal if true, right? Congress had a Bible printed? Is that true? No. It's a flat-out, blatant lie. The guy made something up and told it to you as though it was a fact. He lied. A blatant, bald-faced lie. That's the kind of thing I've come to expect from this guy. The Aitken Bible was not printed or endorsed by Congress. I actually have apparently NPR went through a lot of these claims because basically all the claims that he makes in this, I didn't get to it, but there's another one where he says 29 of 56 signers of the Constitution were pastors. Bald-faced lie. He says that in another part. He says the Aitken Bible is printed and endorsed by Congress. Bald-faced lie. All this stuff that he's repeating came straight from the lips of David Barton, who is kind of like, he's like Kent Hovind in a lot of ways. He made old videotapes back when VHS was popular, passed them out all over Christian communities, and just repeated all of this stuff verbatim over and over and over again. So he came up with a lot of these BS nonsensical lies about, the early government in the United States, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and so on and so forth. And here we sit with Robin Bullock repeating all of this stuff. I mean, NPR debunked this stuff in 2012. This is a 2012 article by NPR. Look, August 8th, 2012. And here we are over a decade later, and they're still being repeated to this day. Right here, most founding fathers had Bible or seminary degrees, is the claim from David Barton. Check this out.
In 1992,
this is Mike Huckabee. I think he was like the governor of Alabama or something at one point. He used to have a show, apparently, and he'd have David Barton come on that show and talk to him. Listen to just a few seconds of it.
1992, a friend gave me a VHS videotape of a guy I'd never heard of, and he made me promise to watch it. Well, I knew he was going to ask me if I'd watched it, so late one night, about 11:30, I popped it into my player. I figured I could watch it about 5 minutes, and then I could tell my friend I really had watched some of it. I couldn't stop watching, and I didn't stop until it was finished. That was about 1 in the morning. I have been a big fan and, for the past several years, a friend of the founder and president of Wall Builders, David Barton. That was your tape, David, and welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
So glad to have you here.
Thanks. Great to be with you.
From the very first time I ever heard you talk,
Dude, look at the little line scrolling along the bottom. A new form of simian virus recently discovered in wild. I mean, this is Fox News, so don't trust a single word that's being said here. But I mean, how old is this video anyways, I wonder? I guess there's no way to know for sure, like, what year this video came out. I'm not sure when this video came out, but based on the quality and the fact that they mentioned VHS tapes and the aspect ratio, I'm assuming this is late 90s, maybe early 2000s. But yeah, this is David Barton right here.
And I like to do this a lot in high schools and colleges and whatever. They can all find Jefferson and Franklin, and that's as far as it goes. They stop right there.
So anyway, he fancies himself a constitutional expert or constitutional scholar. That's what he claims. In reality, he got a 4-year bachelor's degree in the 1970s in religious studies from Oral Roberts University or something like that. I forget exactly what his qualifications are, if you can even call him that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Never did. But once again, those talking points, the things that he just flat out lied about, stick to this day. They persist. This is revisionist history. Listen to what NPR had to say about it. Of the 56 who signed the Declaration, 29 actually held seminary degrees. More than half of them held Bible school degrees. That's the quote from Barton. Now, here's what NPR says. To clarify, in the early days of the nation, a seminary degree meant a college or university degree, or had some formal schooling. It did not mean a Bible school degree. Only one of the signers, John Witherspoon, had a divinity degree and was trained as a minister. Only one. So it's a blatant, flat-out lie that they're telling. They are stating something with the intent to deceive you, to trick you into believing something other than the truth about a matter. That's what's happening here. There are a billion examples of this. And again, Robin Bullock goes through like a billion of these. The Aitken Bible? It's a lie. Congress funded religion and printed the Bible is this subheading. Showing a Bible in this video, Barton says this is a copy of what the first Bible printed in English in America looked like. This Bible was printed by U.S. Congress in 1782. So the war ended in 1783. I think 1774 was the first Continental Congress, but the Constitution was ratified in 1787. That's really when our government got its start. The war didn't even start till 1776. Or the Declaration of Independence, when we told King George we were separating from them, didn't even get signed until 1776. So here's the NPR article continuing. Historians say this Bible is actually published by Philadelphia printer Robert Aitken. Congress neither published it nor paid for it to be published. At Aitken's request, Congress did agree to have its chaplains check the Bible for accuracy. Congress did not recommend that the Bible be used in public schools. That quote was written by Aitken in a letter to Congress. Blatant, bald-faced lie from Robin Bullock. Once again, anybody surprised by this?
Really, it wasn't over yet, but yet it was over at Yorktown. Then about a month after that, it was suddenly put into law, and Congress endorsed printing the first American Bible.
Blatant lie. Simply not true. Like, we can't watch this whole Barton thing. It's like 7.5 minutes or 8 minutes long, but just look at like a few seconds of it here.
Schools, and we're going to be told that they don't want any kind of religion and education. They don't want voluntary prayer. No, it doesn't make sense. This document by itself is fairly significant. But in 1830, Congress commissioned these 4 paintings over here to recapture what the official record said was the Christian history of the United States.
Everything the guy says, just a blatant lie. All of it, basically. So, anyways, yeah, that's Robin Bullock. That is him blatantly lying to your face. And that's what I've come to expect from televangelists, honestly. This is like their MO. This is what they're all about, unfortunately. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Okay, I had more, but yeah, I guess I'll call it there. What was left? I forget.
Congress printed so that we could put it in our schools. This was why they did it. And it says it, that they endorse this thing.
It says, like, Congress didn't, quote-unquote, endorse this thing, or they didn't print. He said they printed it, right? Like, this is just completely made up. Yeah, I guess Congress checked it for accuracy at his request. Is that what he's talking about?
So we were able to put that in the hands of every history teacher and every library in 2 counties of every public school. So this is why people like Noah Harari attack God all the time. This is why liberals attack God all the time.
Who? Harari something or other? What? Just all of it is nonsense, dude, beginning to end. My God. All of it. Every last bit of it is bullshit.